right, welcome to the fourth and final review of the evening. Up this time is a game called Pendragon. So, if you're familiar with Arthurian lore and legend, you will already know what this is in reference to. But in case you didn't take English Lit, Pendragon is the surname to Arthur and Uther.
It's Uther Pendragon was a king of some description, not as big as Arthur, but was before, and then there was a succession thing, but Arthur was like actually his son due to some weird thing.
Right. Though in the case of Pendragon, the game here, we're starting off on the other end of the Arthurian legend spectrum, as it were. Mm-hmm. I understand. It's a whole thing in terms of canonization and all that stuff, but okay. So where Pendragon starts is it's the 9th century.
I think the technical term is the Strife of Camlan.
Yes, and they actually do use the Camlan terminology here. I can already say, like, if you're deep into Arthurian lores and legends and all that stuff, you're probably either going to really enjoy this game or really hate it.
Depending on how comfortable you are with inconsistencies that definitely also exist in the source material.
That and inconsistencies that, would never have existed in times previous. But I'll get into that. So in terms of Pendragon the game, it's 8673, which is actually a bit earlier than where most of what Arthurian legends cast. That's more...
Keep in mind the actual time scale is fairly arbitrary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, granted, Arthur kind of bounces around from, like about this time, maybe even a bit earlier, to maybe at most like the late Middle Ages, but generally you're going to get more 8th, 9th, maybe 10th century. And none of this is defined because, we don't even know if there was a historical author or a Camelot, or if any of these people actually ever existed, or
and signs point to know if anything.
Yeah, or if or if they were always aphorical tales, or if there's some other king who this was based off of, that kind. There's a lot of debate around all that.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting back to the basic framework here, we're at the Strife of Camlan, which is the battle between Arthur and Sir Mordred.
Who has been introduced at this point.
Yes.
He's a late comer to the whole situation.
Yeah, but it's also, the round table is broken. Guinevere and Lancelot have engaged in their treacherous affair. And the game is picking up where a broken-hearted Arthur is going to fight Mordred in the final battle. And what your character's role in that is, are you going to help Arthur? Are you going to let him die? It's like your selected character, and the characters selected are various figures in Arthurian legend. Like the two starting characters are Sir Lancelot, as you'd expect, and Queen Guinevere. And this gets to the part where, inconsistencies that would not have existed previously, because Guinevere's been reimagined as a warrior queen.
Granted, this happens a lot.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that there's not going to be historical depictions of Guinevere being this fucking proactive. Mordred's a different story. Like, Mordred is an interesting case if you actually follow the evolution of Arthurian legends. Like, this actually has a more accurate version of Morgan Le Fay than, say, Excalibur did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and indeed, like, you'll come across Sir Gawain. I'm guessing characters like Percival and such are there. There are also other lady knights, which, once again, not exactly sure if they've, how they figure in the, previous Arthurian legends and such, because, once again, women combat situations, not really a thing in terms of a lot of storytelling. Um,
Certainly, they didn't get mentioned much.
yeah, like,
Mm-hmm.
like Morgan Le Fay is an interesting case because she's a lot more proactive. She's author. Like, I think in the original tale, she's indeed author's half sister, but she's not exactly.
Again, depends on which version you're reading. There's a
Yeah.
lot of canonical differences regarding who's related.
Yeah.
Like, no, seriously, you can take an entire course on Arthurian legends.
Seriously, yeah.
And we really don't have time to go into.
Oh.
Like, even like going back to the original legends, the Holy Grail didn't exist.
Indeed. And Sir Lancelot's basically a fan fiction character, actually.
Yes, Sir Lancelot is a canon foreigner introduced in the French versions, as you might have guessed from the fact that he is French.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the Grail started off as more of a riff off of the Fisher King.
Yeah.
Which is
it gets really complicated when you put Tristan and Isolde in the Round Table, considering the whole Arthur and Guinevere thing is kind of based on Tristan and Isolde in the first place, so you end up telling the same story basically twice.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so like I said, your task is as selected character. Guinevere and Lancelot are your first two options. As you play through the campaigns, you will come across characters. You'll get both more generic soldier types, and you'll get big important characters that will be their own stories that are unlocked. And if you recall Inkle games, a lot of this is up their alley. Inkle, and we do have a new interview up with them in a few weeks here about Pendragon, no less. Inkle is very interested in narrative storytelling. And indeed, this is their newest stab at it. Now, the hook for this one is it's wrapped around a tactical strategy game. Like, I suppose in pure gameplay terms, if you want to put it that way, this is the one that has the most gameplay in it, or rather, the most conventional gameplay, because you could theoretically compare this game to, say, Fire Emblem or Disgaea. I would not recommend that. I will say this right now. Don't go into this looking for a good strategy game or a good tactics game. That's not the focus. And honestly, this is where the game kind of lost me. It got way too tied into actual tactical mechanics, but it's also not really deep enough to be an interesting or worthwhile tactics game on its own.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a paradox there, because once again, the tactics and the fields and all that stuff are pretty simple. Your party is going to be like at most 4 or 5 people, maybe less. And also the enemy side isn't going to be that stacked most of the time. Like, when you get to the ending battle, then you're still dealing with like 5 characters. Like, big for this game, but it's, if you're once again looking for Fire Emblem level or Shining Force, or insert big proper strategy tactics game here, you're not going to find that. This is very small in scope. but it does have actual strategy and tactics going on here. Not just in terms of like movement, attacks. Like some enemies can only attack in the cardinal four directions. Some can only attack on the diagonals. Your own attacks. Honestly, this is the thing that frustrated me the most. Attacking stance, you can only attack in an attacking stance, and that's in the four cardinal directions. On the diagonals, you can't regularly attack, and if you have to switch stances, you will burn off a turn.
Mm-hmm.
Like that never failed to annoy me because there's a reason why actual tactics games don't do this kind of thing. Also, there's another consideration here. So this game uses a morale system that I've never seen used in a tactical game, and for good reason. If an actual tactics game used this thing, it would be shredded to pieces. Because what the morale meter reads in terms of the field of battle is if you've killed anything. Like, see, your morale will start dropping after a certain amount of turns, and the way you stop that is to make a play to kill a enemy of some kind, whatever the unit is. I guess this is like to prevent stalemates. You know, like after a certain amount of time, your character will just flee on their own. And how fleeing works is, well, you just retreat to the battle and you will head off to some other random place. I'm not exactly sure the determination logarithms behind it, but unless you're in a sudden death match or a must-win situation, or however they defined it in the terms of the game, it's like if you are forced to flee there, well, you're not fleeing, you're dying. Like, and in terms of dying, well, it's a bit more like chess than, let's say, Shining Force or especially Fire Emblem, because this game introduces a heart system. That is to say, when a character is felled on the field of battle, more often than not always, it is circumstantial. Instead of losing their life, they'll be wounded. And if you win the day, that character will be alive. They'll just be a bit weaker. That also ties into the larger scale like endurance system or health system or whatever. Like each day that passes, you will lose a heart. You know, your food, water cycle system thing. And if you have food rations, you'll be able to stem that. And sometimes, though, the field of battle isn't an actual field of battle. Sometimes it will just be talking. Either talking to villagers, talking to a major character, what have you. Like, all action there, or campfire stories. Campfire stories are interesting because they are stories within stories. Also, they are. I think they are modern stories. Like, I did see like one of the stories was written by one of the Inkle guys, for example. But the stories are like background events or something that happened in, like, say, Lancelot's past or Guinevere's past or what have you, or maybe there's something related. They're neat stuff, fluff but neat. And once again, ties up into what Inkle is doing here. So that's an overview of the game. How well does it work? Well, as I kind of said previously, as a narrative experiment, it's once again really interesting. It plays to the strengths that Inkle is known for. It's all, very well written, very emotional. It's a very dour story, like, so you know, like I said, we are talking about Camelot's fallen. Mordred's forces are stalking the land, taking everything and burning peasants and shit. It's not happy times.
No.
So it's all well written. Personally, it didn't really grab me all that much, but I'll be honest, Arthurian stuff has never been my bag. I respect it a lot, but it's not, it's not something I ever went gaga over. And like I said, in terms of mixing the narrative and strategy elements, yeah, it did that. Like, it's just I can't really respect this as a strategy game. It's too shallow. But it also kind of wants to be taken seriously as a strategy game. Which is well enough, but coming off of last year's Heaven's Vault, this is a disappointment. In fact, I would probably award this my disappointment of the year, just simply because this is the least interested I've been in an Inkle game. Not it's the worst Inkle game or what have you, but it's definitely the least interested I've been in an Inkle game, personally. As a game, as a narrative thing, it's itself, also it's very solid, but I would notch it below Heaven's Vault and Sorcery.
We do have a comment in the chat that says if you go to sleep every night, you don't lose health.
Right.
I don't know what else.
Let's see. In terms of the music, a lot of trumpets. Like, pretty sparse, too. Like, it's nice enough, but... and it's memorable, unlike some other games, but not a soundtrack I would recommend.
No
honestly.
show tunes, for one thing.
Anyway.
I like Camelot, so sue me.
And here I was hoping we were going to make it through this review without one Monty Python reference.
That wasn't a Monty Python reference. That was the musical Camelot reference.
Yeah, Camelot, like... Oh, sorry, I'm thinking of Spamalot. Like... Yeah.
No, I mean the, actual serious one.
Right. That's what I'm saying. There's more than one Arthurian musical theater thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, Spamalot is the stage show. Anyway.
If I'd been making a Monty Python reference, I would have said that the art style makes everything look like it's only a model.
Fair enough. Oh. Yeah, we have a commentator in the missed that. Well, that's what happens when you focus on other things. Anyway, in terms of pricing, so the game is clocking in at it's on 10% release sale. About 38 hours left at time of recording. But it's $16.99, $17. Yeah, I think I could recommend this at that price. Though, once again, how you feel about Arthurian legend, I think, is going to be a big determining factor. Like I said, going back, if you're serious about the purity of Arthurian legend, maybe you should do some more research, I'd say.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
We're serious. Let me laugh even harder.
It's changed a lot over the years it's existed.
Because Arthurian legend... Okay, because Arthurian legend isn't a tale. It is a series of tales. It's a series of tales that have very demonstrably evolved over the course of centuries.
Yeah.
It's not a thing that's been set in stone, and Pendragon is just continuing on that tradition, in a much more modern lens, once again, like having Guinevere wield a spear, I don't think would have been a thing that was conceptualized in the Middle Ages, but is a thing that you would see in modern tellings of the thing.
And even a lot of the stuff that has been canonized is not
canon.
It's not as old in the stories as you would think it was from how hard people believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, if you're looking for an actual tactics game, you do have to take into account that it's on the shallow side. It's not really concerned about hours-long battles where each intricate maneuver builds on another, and if you lose a unit, you have to restart because fuck
The
you,
map
Fire
is
Emblem.
fairly small.
I'm just calling out Fire Emblem here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know other tactics games aren't so hard on the death, but still, more this isn't I would not really recommend this as a tactics game. It's perhaps hard to emphasize how shallow it is on that end without actually experiencing it.
Yeah.
And I'm anyway, right now this game is available for computer platforms. I want to say this is coming to consoles and or mobile, but I'm not exactly sure. We'll ask Inkle when they have them on the show in a few weeks. Also, in terms of other packages, you have the Pendragon official soundtrack. Once again, nothing wrong with the music, but it's a bit indistinct. And we got the Pendragon Deluxe Edition, which is both of them combined at $20.95. I'd say this is the one to go for. Especially since the soundtrack on its own is regular $9.99 and $7.99 sale. But everything's on a bit more of a sale right now. Like the soundtrack is 20% off. The Deluxe Edition is 22% off, up from 10%. Still worthwhile package. It's just, I'll be honest, I enjoyed the Everything of Heaven's Vault much more than Pendragon. That's a subjective thing. Objectively, this is another fine entry in the Inkle pantheon of games. In terms of us actually doing a Let's Play of it, this is definitely behind Heaven's Vault. And 80 days whenever we get around to finishing that. Anyway, and yeah, I did forget to mention there are special tactical moves that allow you to do things that you can't normally do, like attack diagonally or attack, without getting out of stance, and attack 2 spaces more. There's not that much more to the definition of the strategy game. It's definitely there. Oh, and I suppose the biggest thing in terms of the game is what your special move is can change depending on who you get or what you experience in the story.
Mm-hmm.
I am glad that the strategy stuff isn't disconnected from the narrative stuff. I'm just saying the tactical stuff is a bit thin on its own. We have reviewed a fair number of these, and I've played a fair number of these over the years, and yeah, it did not hold my attention on that end. I'm sorry to say. So, but yeah, any other comments, questions, or concerns, or anything on Pendragon?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right, let's see. So, yeah, I think that'll about do it for Pendragon here, as well as recording session. So, let's see. The week ahead. On Wednesday, September 30th, we will be welcoming Bill Swartz of Mastiff back onto the program. Been a few years since we had him on. We'll be talking about the Nintendo Switch version of Fight Crab. Now, if I'm recalling correctly, Fight Crab has been released on other platforms, but they are specifically in charge of the Nintendo Switch version. And Fight Crab is an over-the-top physics-based 3D action battle game that combines great giant crustaceans, insane weaponry, and insane claw-to-claw combat into one absurdly hilarious must-play game.
Okay, so it is
Oh.
Fight Crab.
Yeah, not
I
Fight
wasn't sure if
Club.
you were saying crab or craft.
No, it is Crab. And I'm glad we got that cleared up. Yeah, you are a crab. Embark on a world tour of devastation, living over as many crabs as possible in a quest to be crowned Lord of the Crustaceans. Like, I'll see if I can't get a code of that. It'd be the Nintendo Switch version. So, if I do, that'll be yours, Galix.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we do have a Friday show, but it's not an interview because in the first time in many months, we have a Fragments of Silicon Plays thing to do, as we'll be covering Bartlow's Dread Machine. And indeed, we will be reviewing Bartlow's Dread Machine this week. It is a clockwork twin stick shooter. We did an interview about this game last season, if I'm recalling correctly.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah. It's an interesting game in a lot of ways, and it's got a co-op mode, so 2-player only, but it'll come up with some configuration on Friday. And yeah, that's the week ahead for Fragments of Silicon. Also, we are hopefully planning on launching the long in production, and kind of short in production, launch of The Last Crucible on the Left. Like,
or whatever the title ends up being.
Yeah, like, it looks like we're going with Last Crucible. Like, maybe the abbreviation with how Mac framed it last time I talked to him. But yeah, so I mentioned this on Wednesday, but Mac recently emerged from the ether to say that, he finally wants to do the political podcast that we planned like 3 years ago. I'm like, this is how it works in our world. Like, none of this is surprising to me because Mac has done this before. It's like, it could be years and years and years, and hey, just out of the blue, it's time to finally monetize the channel. Not that it's really, it's like, anyway. So we're planning on launching that at 11 p.m. Eastern after Fragments of Silicon. So it's basically going to be what we do for the post show, except Mac will be there and it'll be recorded. Now, we set it up that way to make sure there was a minimum of inconvenience for us. Mm-hmm. Because, to be on the level, we are not sure if this thing is going to be launching, or even if it does launch, it's going to last, say, beyond a month.
It'd be nice, but historically there have been some things that have been kind of hard to pin down.
Right. I mean, Mac assures us that as long as it's before midnight his time, which is like 3 o'clock on my clock, he'll be fine. But I'm like, I'm just looking at like the Moonhawk Studios Presents Redux project and where it's currently. And this is why I'm apprehensive, because that lasted, 3 weeks or so? And then it went on into mothballs? And, it's not that we don't want to do this or we're slagging Mac, but, when you don't have a long-term commitment, it makes people doubt.
Or when you make a long-term commitment, but there's no way that for people to be sure that the commitment is actually long-term.
Right. And Mac's always had this issue, but it's been more pronounced in recent times. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, in fairness, he's having some various life troubles. So
once again, that's
I know
understandable. it's understandable, but if he wants to do things with us, if he wants to, say he's going to do stuff, there's got to be follow through, and not just a one-time thing. Like nobody here is confident that we're gonna see the show launch, and gonna be in a thing 3 months from now. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We'll see. Anyway, so that's the week ahead. Until Wednesday, I shall wish you good gaming.